Welcome, my friends, to the Sage Quay Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking, and I'm your host, Mike Williams. Tonight, my very special guest is Jake Gibson. Jake is the personality behind the popular YouTube channel, The Flat Earth Asshole. His unique style of bringing humor into the Flat Earth discussion has garnered the attention of many folks looking into the Flat Earth theory. Jake is also an accomplished musician playing in two bands, Strain and Raizing Kane, and he resides in Modesto, California. Our conversation was wide-ranging as we cover how Jake ventured into the Flat Earth theory. We then discussed the deceptions of NASA, the discourse within the Flat Earth movement, and how the heliocentric or globe model is designed to steal your mind. And without further ado, here's Jake Gibson. Has anybody ever told you that you look like a young Robert De Niro?
A bunch of times since I've launched the YouTube. Maybe twice in my life before that. But since I've launched the YouTube channel, like, yes, a bunch of times. And my girlfriend shakes her head and is like, I know. But then again, I don't think she ever went back and watched, like, you know, the old, I don't think she's seen Taxi Driver or any of the old ones. So maybe I'll have to go back and show her some really older De Niro movies, you know?
Yeah, you should show her that, because as soon as I watched your video, I'm like, wow, he looks just like a young Robert De Niro. Well, let me ask you this, Jake. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey, what it was like before you discovered the Flat Earth?
I'm basically just a working musician and a working man in Modesto, California. Basically just go to work, and then on the weekends I have my bands. I have two different bands, and that was kind of my life there. And then one day I decided, I'd heard enough people talk about 9/11 that maybe I should take a look into it. You know, I'd heard people saying it was a setup and stuff like that, and so I thought I'd take a look into it, and that was the gatekeeper conspiracy, which kind of broke me open and started my wake-up process, I guess you could say. And then from there, it just like snowballed. And then I Googled chemtrails one night, and it basically damn near ruined my life. You know? So, and then it just snowballed from there to where now, you know, Flat Earth was just my recent thing that I just kind of discovered. So I was basically just a regular Joe and musician, and then stumbled into conspiracies and found out I have this kind of love and passion for just trying to tell everybody about it. I feel like I've got all these secrets, and anyone can figure them out. All you got to do is just check it out. And,
yeah.
It's such a challenge, you know?
Well, it is a challenge. I think a lot of us are like that. We have this information, and we want to be able to communicate it out and get people to wake up, and then it becomes almost astounding, at least this has been my experience, at how many people don't want to hear it. And it's very frustrating, right? I mean, when you get to try to talk to people, and basically their attitude is, I'm not going there.
Yep. And I just hope that, you know, that they at least one day when they come along, they come across some proofs of their own with their own eyes. You know, maybe they're up high and they don't see curvature. Maybe one day they're just thinking, I don't feel the Earth's spinning. And maybe they're just thinking about it one day in the future, and then my words might ring true. Or anybody who talks about the Flat Earth or any conspiracy, the words might hit them 5 years later.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, maybe that guy was right. Or maybe I should look into that. That all these people are, you know, who absolutely not only don't want to hear it, but who ridicule me, that maybe 5-10 years down the road, you know, they figure it out and have a revolution of their own, you know.
Well, that's one of the things I want to talk to you about a little later in the discussion, is the ridicule, because the level of ridicule is unbelievable. It gets down to, at times, downright vicious.
Flat Earth is the kingpin, so the level of ridicule is also a kingpin level. Like, I mean, people show up to your timeline on Facebook, like, with their gloves off, like you son of a bitch, I can't believe you would say you didn't go to the moon. How many fucking people are still alive that didn't think that we went to the fucking moon? I mean, it's like when people show up like that, it's like, oh, okay, well, no matter what I show this guy or tell this guy, it's not going to work out, you know. So I find myself getting nasty and stooping down to that level. And so that's one thing I got to try to work on in the future, is man, I can get rip-roaring nasty with people because they get rip-roaring nasty with me right out of the gate sometimes, you know?
Yeah, and the key is to have the discipline not to get into it with them. You have to, I have found, and it is tough sometimes, Jake, I'll admit, to take the high road and just keep it at a higher level. I think because, at least my view on this is, when you do that, I think it makes them think more, because you're not sitting in the ring duking it out with them. You said what you had to say, and then you move on. And then they're kind of left holding the bag. I'm hoping at least it will make them take a step back and pause. I could be completely wrong on this, by the way. And maybe
no,
they'll take
you're definitely right, and that was exactly the way I was thinking. I need to start approaching it because I've pretty much blocked all the complete scumbags out of my life. You know, like on the mainly I'm talking about Facebook, because in real life I don't have to talk to certain people. I don't have to see them, but on Facebook somebody can just show up at any time and start throwing verbal punches for the whole world to see. You know, and, you know, just a month ago, if I mentioned Flat Earth, I didn't have anyone on my list to back me up, you know, so I would literally be in an argument with 20 fucking people, and all of them liking each other's comments and calling me names, and I, you know, I'm a performer, I know all the local comedians and all the local musicians, and I'm kind of well known in town, so, man, everyone wanted to pipe up with their 2 cents. Fast forward a month now that I have 200-300 fucking flat earthers on my list.
Yeah.
They've stopped showing up. They've stopped showing up to argue, you know, so.
Yeah, well, you have power in numbers, right?
Well, that was what I was hoping. So I made this last video, you know, to invite the flat earthers to my list, you know, just so if I mention something, I have a little support, you know.
Yeah. Now, how did you come about naming your channel The Flat Earth Asshole? Because that in itself is very funny.
Literally, the kind of the first thing that popped into my head. I feel like I can be an asshole, and I've been told I am one. And I was part of this Facebook secret group called the Asshole Group, and we would all just name call each other and just post the most terrible stuff. You know, like stuff that would get you reported and booted off Facebook. But in this group, anything goes.
Yeah.
And that's the rules, you know. So we would always just post terrible stuff in this asshole group. And then I decided, you know, it just came to my head, you know, I'm going to be the flat earth asshole. And then when word got out in that asshole group that I'm a flat earther, they all came after me, like, so bad, like took it to the level where it wasn't us being friendly anymore. It was like them personally attacking me, like, you know, people taking stuff that I said out of context and posting it on their page and then getting all their friends to rail on me. So then it turned into like everybody in my town figured it out that like I'm a flat earther and the cool thing to do is ridicule me. So I kind of needed to like add as many soldiers to my page as I could to kind of back me up.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the flat earth asshole. I need a gang along with me, you know, so.
Well,
so that's kind of, it just kind of popped into my head, you know. I like I'm in the flat earth and I'm an asshole. Boom, there it is.
Well, I like it because the channel name in itself almost deflates anybody coming in and trying to take shots at you. And in other words, we talked about this before we got started with the show. You inject a lot of humor into your video clips. And I think that that's something, Jake, that is woefully missing with a lot of YouTube channels, especially with a lot of people who have channels and are doing work in alternative research, conspiracy research, and so on. So the humor aspect of it, I mean, you have to know that you're putting that into your videos and you're a very funny guy. What kind of feedback are you getting from having a channel that essentially talks about a very controversial topic, but does it in a very humorous and funny way?
So far, it's been all positive.
Yeah.
Like literally 2 or 3 out of 100 YouTube comments are like, you're a retard, you're stupid. And then all the rest are, oh, you're so refreshing. I love I mean, people are digging it more than I thought. I knew some people would identify with what I was saying, But so far, it's been like, where are the trolls? Where are the nasty people? It's mostly all love and support. I've removed maybe 2 or 3 comments where people would just show up and just say just garbage.
Yeah.
So there's a few things I've taken out, but for the most part, I just kind of leave up whatever people post. So if someone wants to look ignorant and say something, they can, because I know there's enough other people in there, enough flat earthers to argue with them. So I'm not going to try to go in there and argue with each of them. But for the most part, everyone's being really nice. In the thumbs up on the videos, like I expected, with a name like Flat Earth Anything, you're going to get people showing up and giving you the thumbs down and, saying you're a fucking retard, get out of the Stone Ages, and does anyone actually still fucking believe the world is flat? It's like, you get stuff a lot like, like I'm the first person who's ever said that to them.
Yeah.
The words flat and then earth. So they treat me as if I'm the only person still alive who thinks that way.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that these people that make these comments, because I've caught flack too for doing flat Earth research and talking about it. And the people that want to deny, one of the things that's very clear to me is that they haven't spent any time, 0 time, looking at the research, looking at the proof points. None. They just take what it is that's been taught to them, and they just run with that ball, and they attack you. And they forget,
exactly,
right? And they forget that we were in their boat. We used to believe what they believed.
Yeah,
so,
we didn't go to flat Earth school, and we didn't like just not go to science class and just say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna make up my own stuff in my head. It's like it's kind of how they treat you, but it's like no, you should ask us how we arrived at this conclusion before just assuming we're retards right out of the gate. That's a word you get called a lot, I notice. And I find myself having to throw it back, and it's like, ugh.
Now, one of your videos you talk about, and I posted this one on my blog, and it got a lot of views, Flat Earth Love and Flat Earth Hate. And I was wondering if you can expand on that video a little more, because why does it appear to you to be that there's no middle ground on this topic? Why is there so much heated debate over the flat Earth theory?
There actually is middle ground. It's just not talked about. It's like, in that video, I was just kind of talking about how, there's polar opposites for me as far as the love I'm getting around the world on like YouTube, and now on Facebook. Now that my YouTubers are coming over to my Facebook, now I'm getting a ton of appreciation for my views. So there is a middle ground. I have a friend who I have convinced that the Earth is not what they say it is. He just can't say for sure it's flat, but he will admit that he's not sure what it is anymore. Right. And that's cool with me. If I can get someone to say, Jake, I don't know what the hell the Earth is now, then that's fine. You don't have to say it's flat. Like, I won't badger you until you and beat that out of you. I know they'll come to that conclusion themselves. Whereas if I can just get them to say, you know what, it might not be a ball. Just those words, like it might not be what they said. That is weird. Just if I can get them there, that's middle ground.
Yep.
And you don't hear too much from those people because they don't want to pipe up and get ridiculed as a flat earther. And they're probably still doing research or unsure, or they've hit a cognitive dissonance where they don't know what the hell it is, and they don't want to find out because they like space and that whole cosmology, and to find out that it's all garbage would crash their whole damn world down,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is with some people, whereas with me, I've always been like, oh, these movies are fake. Look at this dumb-looking fake movie. Whereas, like, once I found out space is fake, it's like, oh, I get to make fun of that, too. It's just a big, dumb, stupid movie. Whereas other people have always been like, Jake, don't make fun of the movies. They're good. These movies are really good. It's like, no, these movies are terrible. I've always felt like the new movie, like I have to go back and watch old movies because, like I can't really get into any new movies.
No.
Like, they all just suck. And they just regurgitate. So I feel like when I found out space is just like a big fake movie, like the moon landing is all fake and it's a big movie, I get to just use the same critique with NASA now that I did with movies.
Yeah.
Rather than going, oh, you guys went to the moon? Wow. What was that like? Now I can be like, They didn't go to the moon. They're lying assholes. Look, the shadows don't match. Look, there's dust all over that moon. They're saying there's no dust on the boot. Come on. So, I don't know. I feel like I get to use my my sarcasm and my critiquing skills to go after these guys. And that's what they deserve, you know?
Yeah, and it's so obvious when you take a look at the moon landings as an example that they are completely hoaxed. Completely hoaxed. And
I never went back and looked, and it's such an old conspiracy, and I never questioned it until I heard it. I mean, I knew about like 100 conspiracies. Boom, flat Earth hits me, and then they tell me once I'm in flat Earth for about a week, it's like, oh, now I have to go back and look at the moon. And within 1 hour of looking at the moon footage, it's like, how did I ever miss this?
I know.
Oh no.
And in one of your videos, you pointed out something that I didn't know either, which was that they had updated the lunar module pictures so that it looked sharper, didn't look like it was made with paper mache like the old pictures with right tape and curtain rods.
It looks like a solid actual piece of machinery.
Yeah.
If it had looked like that the whole time, see, the confusion there is I actually have people telling me that I'm being distruthful and posting pictures of something that isn't the actual lunar module. I had several people tell me that that's not the real lunar module, and Jake, you're just making, you're making up false claims, and that's probably a replica of the lunar module and not the real one. And it's just shocking how a little bit of disinfo, like a little bit of tweaking to the lunar module can literally keep people on the fence from being like, well, yeah, it is a piece of shit, to being like, well, here's this new picture, so I'm going to trust the new picture.
And NASA also updated the pictures, the Apollo pictures, with just being on the moon. I saw that, I guess, about 2 or 3 months ago. They called them high definition.
Yeah, the caption was, the caption said that NASA's tired of all the conspiracy theorists, so they decided to release 4,000 pictures or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one.
Why the hell were they sitting on all those pictures all these years? Why did they have to get tired of the conspiracy theorists before they decided to show us those ones?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's like they had to get tired of us first before they released those. Oh, okay. So I guess you guys could have maybe another 8,000, 10,000 more, and when you get a little more tired of us, you'll show us those ones in another 20 years.
Well, the real reason why they're releasing them is because now they're between a rock and a hard place, because more and more people now are waking up to the fact that it's a gigantic scam. One of the other questions I had for you, Jake, is in another video. You can see I watched all your videos. You talked about how the controllers have stolen our minds and that you took your mind back. I thought that was a very, very important comment that you made, that they have stolen our minds and then you need to take your mind back. So I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit. When you talk about stealing your mind, what's going on there? What do you mean by that?
The way I looked at it was, when I found out that the earth is indeed flat, then that just trumped my atheism religion. And I say it's a religion because it's backed by everything I thought I knew. It was all bullshit.
Yeah.
So that means everything I thought I knew was bullshit. So therefore my mind wasn't even mine. I was like believing a bunch of fairy tales fed to me, and I never used my own critical brain to decipher all that information. And how could you until, it's presented to you, in a YouTube video or somebody tells you about it. It's like you go along all your life just not knowing and just going along with that space cosmology. And I loved it. I loved the planets and space and all that stuff. And when you find out that that all that's garbage, well, there goes the Big Bang,
right?
Which overthrows, evolution and all that. And it trumped everything that I used to argue with people who believed in, in religions and who believed in a creator or a God. I used to, feel like I was so right and that I had, I was on the right side. So if I argued with them, I would always win because they're wrong. Well, now I feel like I was a complete asshole, like all those times I argued atheism versus a creator, because like my mind wasn't even mine. I was regurgitating lies and fairy tales. So basically, when they steal your mind from you, nothing in your mind is real anymore. Like, when people say, well, what difference does it make if it's flat or if it's a globe? Well, it's because everything you thought you know is no longer. You can't just go to work and still say, hey, it might be flat or it might be a globe, and then still have that whole space cosmology in your head. No.
Yeah.
It trumps everything. That means we didn't, it trumps the moon. It trumps NASA. It means they're just straight stealing our money. It means there's all those visions of the earth that you see in your mind. They're all false. So you have to wipe that clean. Everything, in that I learned in college, is all in not everything, but in school, a lot of it needs to be you have to go back and change all that shit. It would change the world completely if we all gained our minds back.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's interesting
go
because
ahead.
it's the mother of all conspiracies. It really is, because they're lying about where you exist. And this is what they can't connect the dots on that. Because I get that a lot too. They'll say, I don't know what difference it makes, Mike, because there's so many other things that we have to focus on and try to reconcile and get things fixed and so on.
Yeah.
And it's like, and
it's not important at all.
It's not important at all. And the other thing is, it's almost an argument that says you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Well, why is it I can't focus on these other issues also and focus on flat Earth research? I don't understand why it is that there's the switch is on or the switch is off. Why can't I do both of these things?
Flat Earth encompasses all the conspiracies, basically. Damn near every one of them. It encompasses the fact that our government's crooked and worldwide governments are crooked, and there is indeed a plot to keep the people dumbed down and lock away their minds and keep them contained on whatever the hell flat plane, whatever the hell is around us. I don't know. I don't ever claim to know whether there's a dome, more land. I don't even know if there's an ice wall. I just know that there's no curvature, and it's not a globe, and it's a flat plane of some sort. And to keep that locked away from our knowledge is such a huge deceit, and it encompasses all the other conspiracies into it, which
right.
I think it's the ultimate kill shot. We don't have to drag anyone into court over this one. We can literally just, if enough people figure it out, the world will change. Like if 51% of the people in the world figured out that it wasn't a globe, you can't show us the picture of the globe anymore.
Right.
It won't work. If everybody started saying, "Oh, look, that space, look, that's stupid." If we all just started ridiculing it, like, I don't want to say like I do, but just ridicule every piece of garbage they show us, they'll stop showing it to us. At 51% or more, if we reach that number, it's lights out. The world will automatically start changing. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like 9/11, like I'm waiting around for somebody to, reopen this case or somebody drag somebody in the court. I see chemtrails. I see people talking about dragging somebody in the court. I just haven't seen it happen.
Right.
Whereas I feel like if enough people just figure out flat Earth, they'll figure out all the rest of the damn conspiracies. Can't go up there and check the chemtrails out for ourselves, and we can't go back and figure out, JFK and all these other ones, whereas flat Earth, man, anyone can go out there and try to find that damn curvature, try to measure it, try to detect the Earth spinning, do whatever you got to do. Like, you can physically do your own thing and come to your own conclusions. Like, they can't hide this one. It's out there. It's out there right now, whereas they buried a lot of these other conspiracies. So it's tough to go back and dig up some of these,
Yeah, I think a lot of people, part of the problem, Jake, is that they don't want to believe that they're actually controlled, that their lives are controlled. Virtually every aspect of your life is controlled. And people don't want to believe that. They don't want to understand it. They don't want to know it because they want to believe that they are free. And so when you start talking about flat Earth, or you start talking about even other conspiracy research, they short circuit. They just don't want to hear about it. They don't want to know about it, because implied in that is that there's something going on sinister, or something, there's an undercurrent, a dark undercurrent, and they don't want to go there. They just don't want to know about it. So if I don't know about it, then it doesn't exist. And that's how a lot of people operate.
absolutely. It'd bring their whole damn world down, and they just associate conspiracy with theory.
Right.
And it's funny how they go, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. That's just a conspiracy theory. And I've heard that so many times where I sometimes want to yell at somebody. Why the fuck did they invent the word conspiracy? If there are none, if none ever existed, and they're all just a bunch of fucking theories, why did they bother inventing a word called conspiracy? Is
right.
that a conspiracy theory too?
Exactly.
They invented a word so we can all look crazy when we talk about stuff. There is a such thing as conspiracy. So then I can get them. They'll usually at that point go, well, Jake, there is some conspiracy, just not all that crazy stuff you say. So at that point I can get them to admit something. I try to get somebody to admit one fucking conspiracy to me. If they can't admit one, I'm done with them. Like, I cannot talk to a person who can't say, well, maybe something happened on 9/11. Just give me something. Tell me you doubt the government in some way, and I can feed on that. You know, I can tell them, oh, well, if you doubt 9/11, let me tell you where to look, or here, let me tell you a little more about that. But if they say, nope, it was terrorists, and Sandy Hook is definitely real, and we went to the moon, and NASA's is all truth. They don't steal our money; they use it, and it's very useful. I mean, if they have that mindset, man, I can't even talk to them.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult because you just know that they're trapped. They have their head encased in cement, and no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what you present, you will make no headway with those folks.
The ones who frustrate me even more are the ones who go, yeah, dude, 9/11 is conspiracy. I'm totally down with chemtrails, but Jake, man, you can't say that those kids didn't die at Sandy Hook. That's just crazy. Jake, you saying the flat Earth, that's crazy. They'll latch on to 2 or 3 like popular conspiracies, but then the rest of them are crazy. It's like, how can you be partially awake? To me, it's like once you're awake, all of them should be easy to figure out. There are some dumb ones that don't matter, but I mean, most of the main conspiracies are easy to figure out. There's so many videos and so much research that can be done. It's just all the answers are pretty much there. So it's hard for me when someone is partially awake to where they're like, yeah, I'm down with these conspiracies, but the flat Earth is a psyop and you got tricked.
Yeah. Well, the one that gets me is the one where before the flat Earth, we'll just start with that. Before the flat Earth theory came to the forefront, before that there was all of these truthers out there saying that the moon missions, the Apollo missions, were absolutely hoaxed and faked, and you can't trust NASA. Then when the flat Earth movement got traction, these very same people will say, well, the moon landings are still fake, and you can't trust NASA on the moon landings, but you can trust them on anything else.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and to me that is, I usually copy and paste exactly their words, and I make them explain that again. Like, okay, so they might have lied about going to the moon because we were in an arms race against Russia, yada yada. But after that, we were on the straight and narrow, man. All right. The rest of the space is totally true. Or they give me this one. No, they lied about the moon because when they went there, they found something that they don't want us to know about.
Right.
Shut up. Shut your mouth. That still means that they had to fucking build all that equipment and just get lucky. Like, they just assumed it was a gray, dusty rock, and they built all this equipment for that purpose. And then when they got there, a place they'd never been before, oh, look, it's a dusty rock, and we were right. So whether they're hiding aliens from us or they didn't go, it's like...
Yeah.
The whole process of them building equipment to go to a place that they've never fucking been and it just worked out perfectly. It's just too much for me. So you can't convince me of the other one, like that. Oh no, they definitely went to the moon. They just showed us this fake one because they don't want us to know about the aliens on the moon or they were building colonies up there. They're trying to keep that a secret. I've heard all those. Hey, NASA is lying, but they're lying about cool stuff like aliens.
Yeah, there's a good reason why they're lying. That's basically the premise. Right?
Yeah, that's like, they're lying about chemtrails because they're trying to save us from global warming, and they don't want people to know, or something like that.
Exactly. Well, the thing that gets me, going back to the Apollo missions, and maybe you have an answer to this because I couldn't find one. I was always trying to figure out how it is that the lunar rover, remember that little goat cart they were driving around on the
Yeah,
moon with?
yeah.
Well, how did they get that there? Was there a bike rack?
I've actually asked that and had people send me videos. And here, retard, do your research. And there is a video of about 10 guys in lab coats folding up a rover, not on the moon, definitely in a lab, like 10 guys all working to fold up this rover and show how it folds up. Now, I don't know if that was created after they got back when people started asking that question,
Yeah.
or if, that was legitimately how they got it there. But there is video of some guys folding up this rover, and apparently it folds up like a fucking suitcase and fits in the compartment just perfectly. I shit you not. That is what I was told. And so when I watched the video, there's 10 dudes in a lab coat all like unfolding this thing and folding it up. And I go, okay, so how did the two guys, the two astronauts who are essentially wearing like 5 coats, a motorcycle helmet and mittens, how are they unfolding this and putting this thing together? And one guy piped up and said, oh, they just pull a lever and the whole thing just snaps together. It's like, oh, God. So they got an answer for everything, man.
Yeah, that's cartoon
An answer for everything. They have a whole thing why the lunar module looks like trash. I even saved it. I mean, they have a long explanation, like, because so many people said, hey, well, why does that look like a piece of shit? They actually came up with this really long explanation, why, they had to have lightweight materials and it was functionable and it doesn't have to look good to be functionable. I mean, they use a bunch of scientific terms to basically tell you that homeless fucking tweaker's shelter is suitable, and that putting men inside there and kicking them out the door of the orbiter and saying, good luck, it should work on a place we've never been. That's why I kind of like posting all those old pictures, because I can literally just post an old picture of that and say, zoom in. And people say, what the hell is that? And I say, that's the lunar module. And they'll go, are you serious? Just people who've never looked into it. Throw one picture at them and they'll go, huh? So yeah, that's it. And they'll go, no. So yeah, go look into it. So I want to try to focus in on just the absolute fraud of NASA as well, because I think that's just as powerful as the flat earth evidence is that, hey, here's NASA's pictures. Just look at them. Just go back and watch them. They're, kids these days with all the movies and video games they see, if you show them that, they'll know it's fake.
Yeah.
The problem is kids don't go back and look at that shit.
Well, and that's why they haven't been back in 45 years. What they do now is, and what they have done since, is have Hollywood do their work for them. And recently we had the movie Martian, we had Interstellar, we had, a while back, Gravity. All of this stuff is just stepped up Apollo mission stuff. Instead of NASA doing it with Stanley Kubrick, now we have Hollywood doing it and putting it out. And it's there to program and indoctrinate the masses into believing that this is what space is like, and we're going to colonize the moon, we're going to colonize Mars, we have deep space probes, and so
absolutely.
Let me ask this question, Jake. In one of your videos, you talked about people coming back and saying, "Oh, I can see the curve from the roof of my house," or "I can see the curve from an airplane."
Yeah.
And you know that they're not telling you the truth because we know it's absurd. So
maybe they really think they did. That's my thing is, maybe they think they did, and it's hard to tell someone who literally thinks they saw that they didn't, because then you're telling them, oh, well, your senses aren't correct, and listen to me, and they hate that. So when someone says they've seen it, I know that like it's going to be an uphill battle from there, because that means they probably really think that. Maybe they're spouting it off just to sound like they've already beat your argument by saying that, but a lot of people like really fucking think that. Like I get the, hey, have you ever been in a plane before? It's like, no, nobody in the flat earth movement has ever been on a plane. None of us. Please tell us how it works up there.
Well,
they all say different. It's my house. One guy just says, just go to the salt flats. He just said, go to the salt flats. He didn't even elaborate. He just told me to go to the salt flats. You can see it. I said, there's the salt flats. You told me just standing there on the ground? Like, my dad lives in Utah, and I've been to the fucking flats, and they're called flats. They aren't called the salt curved, you know? So it's funny because a lot of them will admit, well, you can't see the curve. Many ball earthers have done their homework. No. Will at least say, well, you can't see it until you get up to yada yada high, you know, so blah 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 high, and then you can see it, but you can't see it from there. Whereas I'll be arguing with people, and they'll all say different stuff. So it's like, okay, one guy says he's on top of his house and sees it. One guy tells me go to the salt flats. Another guy tells me he saw it in a plane, and then this other guy comes and says, no, you can't see it, but once you get up yada yada high, then you can see it. So then I say, well, why don't you guys argue it out? And you figure out when you can see it, and then you come back and tell me once you guys have figured it out.
Going back to being on an airplane, Jake, I've been on a plane many, many, many times. And up there at 30, 32,000, 35,000 feet, looking out my window. And I'm talking about not recently, but many years, I would look out that window and the thought would cross my mind, boy, that sure looks real flat. And I remember a couple of times, you know, looking out the window and seeing if I can detect a curvature, and there was no curve. It was flat as can be.
Man, and see, the thought never entered my mind. I was always like, wow, look how tiny those little cars are. You know, I never thought about the damn flat versus curve. It all never questioned that for once in my entire life. Just totally bought all that stuff, you know. And, man, I just had a friend just post a video and say the earth is flat and NASA's in on it. And the first thing I said, that's fucking retarded. I even explained that in one of my videos. That's retarded. But since I'm into conspiracies and I'm kind of an insomniac and I stay up late, you know, and I watch weird videos, what the hell? I mean, I just got done watching a video that said Bill Hicks is Alex Jones. I might as well go ahead and follow up with Flat Earth on that, you know?
Yeah.
Once you figure out the flat Earth, man, it opens up every single other conspiracy, though. But it never crossed my mind, not even in the slightest, until a friend brought it up. I was open to every conspiracy in the world, but I'd never heard of that one. Never heard of it till July of last year.
Yeah, that's about when it came out with, I think, Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues. That's what got me hooked. When I first saw it, I thought to myself, this is ridiculous. But something, a little voice in my head was saying, Mike, just push the play button and watch it, you know? And once I watched it, I was like, well, this is pretty interesting. So that's how I kind of got on board.
Yeah, apparently Matt Powerland says he started the whole thing, and I talked to him on the phone. He's an interesting guy. He says he started the whole thing, you know, and those guys are all agent provocateurs and whatnot. So we can even get into a little of that. I mean, I don't call anyone a shill because I don't personally know these people. But definitely Matt Powerland says that it's, you know, Eric Dubé is a shill and Sargent's a shill and that he started it and that these guys are coming along trying to, like, steer the flat earth off in different directions. And he claims Dubé's trying to take it into this anti-Semitism direction to where if you mention flat earth, then you're also a Hitler-loving, Holocaust-denying Nazi. So therefore, you know, everyone's going to associate flat earth with being a Nazi. And Dubé turns around and says, oh, well, Powerland is totally a shill, and he's trying to stick up for the Jews. And Powerland says it's the Jesuits, and Dubé says it's the Jews, and maybe it's the Jesuits. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you know, I have a question on that. So let me ask this question first. Actually, let me just finish up my comment on me being in an airplane, and then we'll move right into what you were just talking about. I just want to clarify, when I was in the airplane, I was not aware of flat Earth. I would just be noticing that the horizon was very, very flat at 30,000 plus feet. Now, I was thinking at the time that, well, maybe it looks that way because I'm not high enough, that the Earth is so large that, you know, I'm just looking at a piece or a segment and, you know, you're not going to see a curvature. And that was until I got myself on board with spherical trigonometry, which says there's an 8-inch curve after 1 mile, and then for subsequent miles, it's the 8 inches times the miles squared.
Squared, yeah.
Right, and so once you understand the math, then you know that when you're in an airplane, you should certainly see a curve.
Well, yeah, I mean, it blew my mind when I found that out, that it's actually that measurable. I figured it would be a lot less detectable.
Yeah.
So what really sold me is the islands and the lighthouses and the the Chicago skyline, all these things that
Right.
we're able to see at 50 plus miles. At 50 miles, man, at 1,666 feet drop of curvature, that trumps all those buildings in Chicago. The Sears Tower is like 1,400 foot tall, and then the antenna on top maybe pushes up to 1,700. So maybe, if anything, the very tip of the antenna should be the only thing you see from across Lake Michigan. But they'll come up with whatever answer they can, everything from refraction, mirage. It's a mirage over refraction. I even had one guy turn the math around on me and say, yeah, the math is right, but the horizon doesn't start until 5 miles out there, and then you have to measure from that point. And then you also have to take into account this, that, and the other, and your height, and blah, blah, blah. And he turned around and, he tried to use the actual math and say, so there is the drop there, but the buildings just don't quite drop all the way down. And that's why they're partially dropped. It's like, no, partial, you can't see the bottom. They always try to hit me with, why can't you see the bottom? And it's like, that's because that's how things disappear from your perspective. You stick a camera on the ground and you walk away from it, your feet will start disappearing first. That's not you going over the fucking curvature of the earth.
Yeah.
You don't even need to walk a mile and it will appear you've dropped more than 8 inches.
Right, and you don't start measuring 5 miles out because you're on a ball. The curvature begins as soon as you step 1 inch forward. It's a ball, so you can't.
Some guy went and changed the math around on some video, so now people are coming at me with these new videos saying that the math is right and the curve is there and you can see it. So they're trying to straddle both sides now. All the guys coming at me now who are brave enough to come argue will say the curve is there and you can see it.
Well,
it's like they straddle both sides. And I've even led people to the mirage. I say, well, how come you don't talk about it being a mirage or a refraction? And they go, huh? And then I send them the Chicago skyline clip where the weatherman says it's fucking mirage. And then they go, oh, well, yeah, it is a mirage. It's like, well, now you're going to use the argument that I just sent you. You're going to say, yeah, that you didn't say mirage until I told you it was. So I've had people turn they don't even know that the mainstream says it's a mirage across there. They come up with their own explanation. When I say your explanation doesn't match mainstream, then they switch and go, oh, well, I guess it is a mirage.
Yeah, I mean, just think about, though, how thick you have to be to look at that picture of the Chicago skyline and then believe this weatherman who's telling you it's a superior mirage. It is the Chicago skyline, period.
It wasn't just that picture. There are thousands of that picture now.
Right.
You know how many people are going there specifically to take that picture now? Like, man, I'm hearing new proofs every day. Like, oh, the island of Wakaliki Huku, you can see on a clear day 120 miles across it. So I'm hearing new ones every day. So eventually we're going to hit the max. Like somebody's going to hit a 200 mile on a perfect day. Like, oh, it's 200 fucking miles from this skyline to there and all the way across Kansas. You can see this or that. Somebody's going to nail a proof one of these days. It's going to be like the kingpin proof.
Yeah.
Because it's just getting bigger. I mean, I've seen a few of the island ones, where people are saying that island way out there is such and such far away. I think over 100 miles some of these flat proofs are. But that's not enough, man, for some people.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand, they really don't understand perspective. You brought it up. And the human eye has limitations. You can only see so far. And if you look out into the distance, what you're looking at is going to converge. So people have to understand perspective. And let me just say this for the audience. If you want to understand perspective, I would highly recommend going to Rory Cooper's YouTube channel, My Perspective. And Rory does an incredible job of explaining perspective because he takes the math, he takes the geometry, and he just lays it out very straightforward. It makes it very easy to understand how perspective works. So for folks that don't understand it, go to Rory's channel and you'll get a good understanding of how perspective works. We talked about the flat earth community, who's a shill, who's not a shill. So let me just make this statement because this is where I'm at with some of the folks that are out there putting material out. I have been personally disappointed with a lot of the infighting of what I see as unproductive behavior within the flat earth movement. It's becoming, in my opinion, like a soap opera. So What are your thoughts? Really new into coming into the community with your channel, which is growing in leaps and bounds, I should add. What are you seeing as far as how people are conducting themselves and this bickering and this nonsense with people making videos to cut the rungs out of the ladder on somebody else who's in the movement? It just seems adolescent and very counterproductive to me.
It does, and it raises a lot of red flags, and
Yeah.
a lot of people have really noticed, man. That video that Eric just made, where he's done 2 of them now, where he dresses like in drag, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. And this last one, I will admit, when he was mocking Math Powerland, I laughed my ass off, like it was hilarious. After that, when he was mocking like these other women and stuff, like they aren't is prevalent in the movement. I feel like if it's Dubé versus Math, that's one thing. But when he goes after these women and it started to get weird, and it just towards the end, I'm like, man, I don't know. There's some red flags here. Like this guy's either trying to own the movement because he's selfish, or maybe he truly thinks everyone is a shill and he's the only good guy. But it's rough, man, because he has that, Hitler-loving, it's all the Jews' fault thing. And it's tough because I don't know for sure what religion or faith or how the thinking process goes of the elite. I call them the elite, the 1%. That's who I say who has enslaved me and enslaved us. Is the elites, the 1%. I can't call them Jews or Jesuits because I don't know for sure what they are. Maybe that's part of the psyop, is they want you to think that they're one thing or the other. So, I talked to Math on the phone, and he swears Dubé is a shill, and he took Google to court just last week, and I guess Dubé had some videos up that were slandering him, and he said that, Dubé is a Hitler-loving Nazi, and he's using my likeness and charisma to sell his Flat Earth book, and at the same time, he's also slandering me and calling me names in these other videos. So I guess the judgment's still pending while they review the evidence. But man, there's some crazy stuff going on. I don't know if it's all for show or if it's real. Like, I don't know if these 2 guys are like in an Andy Kaufman and Tony Clifton situation, or if they're or if they're putting us on, or if they really do think each other are shills, but they both are genuine flat earthers that just need to work out their problems. Man, it is tough to say. I've tried to wrap my mind around it, and I know I probably won't find out until one of them makes a bad move and totally outs themselves. But there is a lot of red flags with these last few videos that I've seen, and I'm scared because I woke up to Eric and Math are the 2 guys that woke me up, and there's this part of me that worries I might have got woke up to agent provocateurs. Like you can wake up to the flat Earth, but then get led into the wrong direction, or something, or put your faith into people to lead the movement, and they're not. They're just going to be unproductive when you yourself needs to become the leader. We all need to become the leader.
Yep. I had Eric on the show twice, and I like Eric. I do. He's a very, very smart guy, and
I love his videos.
And when he sticks to the proof points, when he sticks to the evidence, and he sticks to the facts, in my view, there's nobody better to explain
Absolutely
the flat Earth theory. And Jake, I bought his book months and months ago. The Flat Earth Conspiracy. It's 250 pages. The book is excellent. And Eric, if you're listening to this, you're very, very good at what you do when you're talking about the facts, the evidence, and the proof points. But when it starts getting into the other stuff, it gets a little sour.
Yeah, I feel like let's wake up to the flat Earth and get 51% on board, and then we'll start pointing fingers at who did it.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy, he's not very popular in the flat Earth world, but he's one of my favorites. His name is Thomas Scott, and his channel is Thomas Scott News. And he brought up an amazing point in one of his videos. He said, when you classify everybody, like say it's the Jews, you're literally pointing at all of them. You can't classify everybody. Like my best friend who plays in my band is Jewish, but he wasn't, raised full-on Jewish. I know he's not part of any deception. It gets scary to me when they involve race with this in religion, with this conspiracy. Like, let's just stick to proving the flat Earth before we go pointing fingers at entire cultures of people.
Yeah, I agree. I think it needs to be separated out. I think that there is definitely room and an argument for historical revision on what went on during World War II with the National Socialists and the Jews, but I think it is a separate topic, and I think it needs to be kept that way and it needs to be dealt with. I agree with you that when you try to squish it together and marry it with the Flat Earth movement, it becomes a slippery slope. And
he literally, in his last rap song, in his Flat Earth rap song, said Hitler was cool. Well, not a bad guy. It's like he's connected the two straight away, like right there in a song. Like, and he's done it several times, and it gets scary because he's my favorite Flat Earth guy for information. Like, I still go to him for info. But like I said, man, the red flags, are definitely there.
Yeah, and the thing is, like you, Jake, I have friends who are Jewish, and they don't know the Khazarian Jews or Zionism or the Talmudic Jews from a hole in the wall. They just happen to be Jewish from the sheer fact that they were born into the Jewish religion, like many Christians were born into the Christian religion. My point being is there's a lot of people out there that have a religious label tagged to them, but they're not practicing. And so I agree with you. I think it becomes very problematic when you go down that path because you're, like you said, you're broad brushing people who have nothing to do with the issues and the controlling and the matrix and so on. So I agree. The whole community, and not just the Flat Earth community, any community that's dealing with alternative research and the truth, they have to be very, very careful with how they package their message.
And here's an interesting tidbit. So my best friend, he plays guitar in my band, and he's Jewish but doesn't really practice, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
I turned him on to Flat Earth by sending him some of Dubé's videos. So it's funny, like he's awakening, the people who are Jewish, but he's also kind of spewing hatred towards all of them. Like it's at the same time. And I know I'm probably going to catch some backlash now from his supporters. So I want to make it very clear. I love Eric Dubé's Flat Earth videos that are chock full of information. I love them. When it gets to be where we're pointing fingers at entire races, it gets a little scary. I don't want to associate myself with that, and I know a lot of people don't. And I feel like guys like Eric and Mass would be way more powerful if they could just like get together and squash their beef. And if that's not possible because one of them's a shill or both of them are shill, well, who knows? I just feel like all these leaders could be a huge force if they would just like get together and squash their differences. And it just seems like, there's kind of this weird standoff division thing. And hey, I open my arms to all of them. I've talked to Mass on the phone. I've talked to a few of them online, a few different people online. I know, I get comments from like Jeranism and Flat Earth and other hot potatoes. And every time one of them comments, other YouTubers go, "Oh, watch out for her, watch out for him. They're shills and blah, blah, blah. Watch out, Flat Earth asshole. These people are shills." And I don't know. Well, they're being nice, so I feel like I need to thank them for sharing my videos and stuff. And then people are saying, "Oh, well, watch out."
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Then I'm like, well, maybe I do need to watch out.
Yeah,
maybe
let me
watch out for everybody. Maybe I need to watch out for you, Sage Quay.
Yeah, watch out for me, Jake. Let me just say this, okay? I've interviewed Eric twice, and like I said, I really enjoyed speaking with Eric. I mean, he's a very, very smart guy, and he articulates really well. I interviewed Mark Sargent when Mark's Flat Earth Clues was relatively new. I liked Mark a lot. I interviewed Jaron. I liked Jaron a lot. David Weiss. I think David's doing some terrific work in the Flat Earth movement. And I had Patricia Steer on the show. And all of these folks, when I spoke to them and interviewed them, they were very, very good people. So, and I'm having a conversation with them, and somebody can argue, well, Mike, you're only having an hour and a half, 2-hour conversation with them. You don't really know who they are, type of thing. You know what? I'm having a conversation with a person for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and I can tell you that they were good people, okay? and I didn't detect that anybody was being coy or shifty in any way. And I'll just put that out there because I have spoken to these folks, and at least that's my perspective on it. And I'll probably get a lot of flame mail for saying what I just said, because all these camps are just throwing rocks at each other.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Come on, guys. Like, we're all in this flat earth thing together, right? We should be all teaming up, man. Let's save the finger pointing for once we get 51% or more of the world on board. That's my goal. 51% of the minds need to know that it's not a ball, and we've won. We'll have won at 51%. At that point, it's boats and planes heading towards the damn ice wall, if there is one, or whatever's out there. I feel like we could actually literally set a date 4 years, 5 years in the future where any country, anybody with any money, anybody with a boat, let's set a date, Columbus Day 2020, where we all go out and check it out for ourselves. We all become Christopher Columbus. I would like to work towards a goal like that, where everybody heads out in exploration. Anyone who has the means, we all go for it, rather than this controlled experiment. How about we all go check it out? And if as far as you can go is getting to the ice wall in a place where it shouldn't be, well, that would prove it for you right there. Maybe some people can get to the wall and get up on top of the ice, if there is there. Maybe there isn't really a ice wall, and there might be cracks that go off into other worlds. Maybe somebody can reach this dome or barrier. I want to see the day where we all become Christopher Columbus. Anyone who has the resources, anybody, any team of people who can pool together, like, hey, I've got this amount of money. If we all pool together, we can have this boat and we can all go check it out for ourselves. And if we run into a UN ship, well, we'll know that there are UN ships hiding stuff. I don't even know if that's real. See, this is the thing. I don't know if the ice wall is real. I don't know if there are UN ships guarding it or not. All I know is there's no damn curvature. It doesn't spin. So everything out there might be a complete psyop. The flat earth map could be a complete fucking psyop. I have plenty of friends now saying, dude, that map doesn't make sense. Like, it's flat, but that map ain't real because some of the flights do exist and they shouldn't be. So it just leads me to believe all maps are wrong.
Yeah. Well, Max Egan, he took one of the flights that wasn't supposed to exist, and he documented with his phone, took a picture of the outbound flight. There it is. That's the flight number going from point A to point B. And it just wasn't supposed to exist. It was one of those supposed fake or phantom flights, and it wasn't. And I received a message from Max, and he was saying to me, Mike, you would not believe how much hate mail I got for documenting the fact that that flight actually exists. So this is the point, too, I think that you're on, and I'm kind of just enforcing here, or reinforcing, is that you also cannot be so blinded that you won't accept new information coming in. Like you said, Jake, maybe the map is not right. I've even thought about the fact that perhaps even the numbers that they've given us with regard to the Earth in general are just wrong, made up.
Yeah.
I mean,
just keep everything wrong from all angles, and we won't figure it out.
How are we supposed to know?
I had a friend who I told the Earth was flat, and he told me that's ridiculous. And then 3-4 days later, actually months and months later, he saw me arguing about it online, and he decided to check into it. He called and said, dude, I'm 3 days into trying to debunk you, and that's scary because I should have been able to figure out that the Earth is round in like 2 seconds. And the fact that I'm in day 3 and I haven't figured it out, like I can't prove it completely, it's kind of weird. He says, but I'm pretty sure it's round, and I've been tracking this flight from Australia to South America, and it looks like it does exist. And if I can get us the resources and the money, are you willing to take that flight so we can prove that it is round or flat if it does exist? And I said, no. I said, all that would happen if that flight was real is I would get on a plane, the plane would go up, and then it would level off and fly straight.
Right.
Which isn't possible on a without dipping your nose down. Right? And then I would look out the window and see the flat horizon. So I would experience 2 flat Earth proofs during the flight. And then when it lands, all I would do is say, well, the flat Earth map is wrong. And I would fucking walk away. And that's how easy it was for me to get past that. I don't have to send anyone hate mail. I'll just say the flat Earth map is fucking wrong. Of course they have this alternate map they're probably showing us to throw us off. Of course.
Right.
we have to all be one step ahead, man. This secret got out, and they might have planned for it to get out. That's another thing I'm worried about, is this secret was let out on purpose. You know, this could be the thing that sent us into chaos. Who the hell knows? But this secret got out in a way that no other conspiracy or secret has ever got out and taken. I feel like this has picked up more steam than any conspiracy I can think of, like in a short time, like it's heading for something. Something's going to happen. And part of me thinks it might have been planned somehow. Like, did they let this one out of the gate? Like, there's that Illuminati playing card, the Flat Earth. Well, if you've heard of that.
Yep. Yeah, I have seen that. Yep.
I don't know if any of that stuff is like all planned out, you know, like some say. And this is, you know, part of the deceit is that they let out these secrets and or what, I don't know. Or if it genuinely got out and they're trying to get the cat back in the bag. So I'm stuck between it genuinely got out or they let the Flat Earth out of the bag.
Yeah, and there's really no way of knowing that. Now, Jake, just going back to the flights for a second, you know, a lot of these folks are focused on flights. What they really should be focused on is flights that actually circumnavigate the South Pole, of which there aren't any.
No, it's too cold.
Yeah, see, that's
you know,
right, but that's the thing.
The plane will fall out of the sky frozen. Everyone on board will freeze, and the plane will just fall out of the sky. It's like, no, you can't do that.
But they've been to the moon, right?
Exactly. Well, we had tinfoil and stuff to protect us. And we didn't know that the Van Allen radiation belt existed at the time. So as long as you don't know that the Van Allen radiation belt exists and you have tinfoil, you're good to go. Yeah. How about we wrap the planes in the same tinfoil they use? No, that would cost too much. No, let's just avoid this. Let's just avoid the South Pole.
Let me ask you this question. When you talk to people and you're having a discussion trying to get the point across that the Earth is flat. Well, let's just put it this way. It's not a globe. It's not a ball. What are some of the proof points that you use? What things do you bring up to try to make it obvious to them that maybe they should think through this?
Boom. First one I always start off with. I say, can you feel the Earth spinning? If they know I'm going to head into the flat Earth thing, then they'll like try to get around that question and go, yeah, when I'm drunk. And it's at that point I want to slap them. It's like, no, I'm asking you a serious question. Can you feel it spinning? I make them admit no. And I'll say it's because it's not. Just so they hear that, because that is one of the things that rung true with me. There's two things that really sold it. Can you feel it spinning, Jake? No, I can't. Well, that's because it's not. Oh, well, that makes way more sense than it spins at 1,000 miles an hour and all this shit, and I can't feel it. So I like the whole, like, hey, I can't feel it, so it doesn't spin. And then the curvature, I say, have you ever seen the Earth as a ball? And I usually pull up a fake, a phony picture of the Earth on my phone, and I say, have you ever seen it with your own eyes? And they go, well, no. And I go, have you ever even seen the Earth curve? And that's when I make them say whether they've seen it or not. And if they say they've seen the curvature, I know it's going to be rough. But if I can get them to admit, no, they haven't seen it, then I know, like, okay, now I can move on to the next step and say, well, check out all these pictures of Earth. And I usually have my phone with me, or if I'm online, I just post like 20 different pictures of the Earth that all look different. And I ask them which one they think they live on and which one is the real one. And then, you just get a plethora of different answers back. Some people say, well, how do I know those are real NASA images? And some people don't believe it. When you finally say, hey, these are paintings, these are CGI images, they go, well, those aren't NASA images. And then they have to go look, and then 2 hours later they come back with some picture of their own and go, ha, here's one.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'll give you credit, that one does look decent, but can you find another one where the continents are the same sizes? And then it's like, you have to have two pictures. You can't just show me one picture of the Earth and expect me to buy it. I mean, if we've got 10,000, 20,000, however many pictures from space, they need to be matching. That's my big problem, is none of them fucking match. It's like, Africa's this big, Africa's small, North America's huge, North America's tiny. Half the country's desert and half the country's green. The whole country's desert.
Yeah.
Every picture is just completely different. If they just matched it up a little fucking better, I'd have probably bought it longer. So that was another thing. Just looking at all the phony pictures, it hit me dead on. Like, because math says, hey, photo or painting. And so I went and I looked, and damn right, man, they're all paintings and photos of paintings. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and the thing is, those pictures that you're talking about, the blue marble pictures, I think there's about maybe 8 to 10 of them over time that NASA has put out. And you're absolutely right. None of those pictures look the same. The color of the water is different. Like you said, the continents are different sizes. It's just unbelievable. And I think what happened originally was they would put these things out and nobody was paying any attention to it. And then all of a sudden now people are paying attention to it, and now they're pulling these pictures in, and it's an obvious fraud.
Well, some of them are just fucking ridiculous. Just cloud cover. Look outside and notice how much clouds are in the sky some days, or whenever every plane flight I've been on, there's parts where it was clear, and then there were parts where it was a canopy of clouds, and you could not see shit. And so there's lots and lots of clouds up there, and especially when you look at the amateur balloon videos, you see a ton of cloud cover. Now, how come in all these ball pictures, man, you can see all the continents pretty much, and there's just a little bit of clouds here and there. Man, it's like some of these pictures, like there's some where they show the Earth at night, and you can see all the lights and stuff. It's like, you're telling me the entire continent didn't have clouds? The entire fucking continent, like you can see Africa and all these lights and all this stuff. Like, if you turn on your porch light, I guess you can see it from space, apparently. And it's like there's no clouds in some of these pictures. So when I point this stuff out, you know what? People, their cognitive dissonance is so bad, they'll say, well, different cameras, different angles. The camera angle is different. There's a different type of camera. Or once they, if they do their research, they say, well, those are composites. And I said, well, how come they copy and paste the clouds on some of these? And they use the same cloud form. Like, if you're going to make a composite, but you shouldn't be copy and pasting clouds. That means you're adding stuff that's not real.
And they spelled out the word sex, right, recently, probably a few months ago in one of the clouds.
Yeah, I've seen that. And so when I show them that, they either say, well, how do you know that's real? That might just be some, flat earth disinfo that's mixed in. Or they'll say, well, they're composites, and they're composites. And so I guess it's like you're just allowed to, if you know they're composites, then, and you're cool with that, then you're cool with looking at cartoons.
Yeah.
And if you don't know and you think those are real, oh, God help you. Like, there are people, like, every single cartoon picture I post, they go, yeah, that's real. Jake, how come you don't think that's a photo? And they'll go post another one that's twice as cartoony as mine and go, how can you not think this is a photo? I mean, do your eyeballs even work anymore? When you watch movies, that's all real to you? Like, if they showed Star Wars on the news and said that this is real, that means it's real? I guess you have to be told it's news or it's a movie. I don't have to be told if it's real or a movie, but some people need to be. And if you tell them, hey, this is real, then it's real, no matter what.
And the thing is, there's supposedly tens of thousands of satellites orbiting Earth, and we can't get any close-ups of Earth. We can't get a view of Australia with the buildings upside down, right? Or right, we can't get any of that.
How about the whole solar system? Just show us the solar system as they show us in these models with all these orbits, all these circular orbits around. Show us that, I'm sure you got one far enough back by now you could take a picture of it. I mean, or how about like a Mass Power Land says, how come they don't have one trained on the Earth 24 hours a day? Wouldn't that be considered a great technological science achievement to have a satellite trained
right
on the Earth, a camera, to where any of us can go to www.earthsatellite.com and look 24 hours a day in real time.
Right.
In real time. Not that bullshit where it's like, here's a 5-second clip of the Earth spinning, Jake. So you're debunked. No, I'm talking about, like, show us the thing 24 hours a day. Like, show it to us.
We get those pictures, the little snippets from the International Space Station, which I know is a favorite of yours, right?
Oh, God.
Right, and that's what they show us. They show us this, a partial view of a curved Earth with these guys with these massive gloves on doing very intricate work outside of the space station. Talk to us about the space station a little bit, because you did a video where I thought it was very funny, where you were doing the bobbing up and down.
Okay.
Okay, and maybe you could talk about that a little bit, because there's a lot of people that believe the ISS is real.
Yes. So First off, I like to start with Scott Kelly. Okay? Look at that man. Just pull up any Scott Kelly interview. Pull up any real. My favorite one is on the Colbert Show. He did just recently. He was on the Colbert Show, and it was almost like they were like trying to show that he's not really in space, just to I don't know, just to fuck with us or something. But you can see the harness under his shirt in all these videos. There's these things just above his shoulders that lump up, in this body language he has where he's always got his arms crossed.
Yeah, what's that all about?
Very, very indicative of a harness in front of a green screen. If you're going to have that buff, dude do a backflip, you're going to have him in a harness, and he's in front of a green screen, and basically it's very easy to spot. If you just look at his shirt and his body language and the way he bobs up and down, he's definitely in a harness, and it's laughable how easy it was for me to spot this when I never noticed before, and now it's like, oh my God, how does anybody believe this guy? It's like, look, he's doing a backflip. How could that be possible? Well, if you can use a harness and a green screen, like in the movie The Matrix, where they fly around and do all those cool jump kicks and stuff like that. It's just green screen and harness work, I mean, it's literally what they're doing with Scott Kelly. And then people say, well, I can see it with a telescope. Yes, you can see an image of something, and I can't tell you exactly how they do that. My suspicion is there's a fucking plane up there that can display an image, or it's some sort of Project Bluebeam thing. I know that if it's real, they wouldn't have to show us Scott Kelly in a harness, that it should be real. If that image in the telescope is the space station, then why is Scott Kelly totally in a fucking harness? I mean, anybody who takes just a few minutes to watch his interviews, and then right on cue, he does that backflip at the end of every interview. It is a joke. And Eric actually has a video on his page, ISS Hoax, which I've watched a few times. So I recommend that one. It goes over all of it. I mean, there's something up there, whether it's a plane displaying an image, maybe you can have a plane with a screen that shows an image of a space station, or maybe it's some sort of hologram Project Bluebeam thing they don't tell us about. All I know is you can only see it certain times and only in certain places. It's not like, they say, the people tell me, dude, go out with the telescope and look at it. It's like, I have plenty of friends who own telescopes who said they've never fucking seen that thing in their life. And they've been looking at it up there for years,
Well, somebody sent me a clip talking about the ISS because I had said that, the whole thing's a hoax. I agree with you. The whole thing is faked. And they sent me this YouTube footage. And I have to tell you, Jake, it looks like a hologram to me. It looks two-dimensional. The picture, whoever was filming it, it was pixelating. So something is up with, those clips that are showing that ISS. The other thing is that people just believe that whoever puts something up on YouTube, it's good to go. They don't know anything about this person. They don't know their background. They don't know what they do for a living. Nothing. And they just, they take it and they just run with it, which is very interesting to me. But I have to tell you, when I looked at that ISS footage, there was just something very, very suspect about what I was watching.
Yeah, if it's real, it should all go together. You can't have an image in the telescope. It's like, well, maybe that is the real ISS. First, let me watch the Scott Kelly interview. What? He should just be free floating. He shouldn't have his arms crossed and looking all weird like that in every interview. I even mentioned that in one of my videos. How come he just doesn't uncross his arms and float around and just be a regular dude in space?
Yeah.
And another thing, to create that space illusion is the parabolic maneuvers. I'm surprised how many people don't know that you can get on a plane. Any regular person can go pay and get on a plane and experience that anti-gravity weightlessness by doing parabolic maneuvers on an airplane. You know how many people say, Jake, how do they do anti-gravity? It's like, parabolic maneuvers. And they go, huh? So there's plenty of grown people. I've known about it since I was a little kid, so it shocks me how many grown people who I thought were pretty smart are completely don't know anything about parabolic maneuvers or a harness or a green screen. Like, none of that ever enters their mind whatsoever. Like, I'm the first person to mention that a plane can go up and down in such a manner that can cause weightlessness. For me to explain that to people older than me it blows my mind, you know?
Yeah. Are you familiar with the band OK Go?
No.
Okay, all right. So OK Go, they did a video. The video was shot in a zero-G plane. And I'll send you the link after the show. Take a look at that video. It makes the NASA ISS videos look like child's play. And in the beginning of the video, OK Go, the band says, all of this was filmed in a zero-G plane. And Jake, you have to see what they're able to do in that plane. So I'm going to send you the link after the show. I'm going to send it to you, man. And I'm telling you, you take a look at what that band was doing and how they filmed that video, and then you take a look at what NASA's doing. Well, I think NASA should probably take a couple of lessons from whoever was responsible for the OK Go video. The whole thing was filmed in a zero-G plane.
Well, that's where they do a lot of the other scenes, the NASA scenes, where you see them floating more freely, and they're throwing objects back and forth and stuff. Now, those ones, they just do a mock-up of the International Space Station or the mock-up of a shuttle or wherever inside the plane.
Yeah, that's right.
Those are the two ways they do it. It's green screen and harness, or they're doing a mock-up of the shuttle or the ISS inside of an actual airplane, just a really big airplane. You build a mock-up up inside there and say, hey, we're in space. Look at us. We're floating. Look at that lady's hair that's been turned upward. You've seen that one with a lady's hair that
it's
obviously
all
permed their hair upward. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
She has hairspray in her hair. It's ridiculous to think that your hair would stand straight up like that. But let me ask this question, because a lot of folks listening to this might be thinking, okay, so they're faking all this stuff, so why would they do this? They're certainly not doing space travel, so they're doing something else with the money. That's my point, I guess. What's your take on that?
Yeah, they're stealing it. You're fucking stealing it. What they're doing with it, who knows? But since they aren't doing what they say they're doing with it, they're stealing it from us.
Yeah.
So they're straight up stealing our money. So when that's a favorite question. Well, what would they have to gain by lying about all? Like, oh yeah, there's nothing to gain. Oh, yeah, it's totally, why do it? No, there's everything to gain. All the money they've stolen, like just for the moon, I heard it was 50 million or whatever they took for the moon. Since then, they've pulled trillions off of us, trillions of dollars off of us, and in return for CGI and pictures, that are all fake and phony. So what are they really doing that would make all of it worth it? Well, if they ain't telling us about it, then that means they're just stealing our money, as far as I'm concerned. So there it is. There's money, and then there's, like we talked about, when they steal your mind away, they convince you that the space cosmology is real and that there was this big bang and evolution and that you need to trust science and not these dang-fangled religions. The religions, they're all dumb, so definitely go trust a scientist. And since you're not smart enough to verify any of it and you can't go up there to space, just go ahead and listen to NASA and these guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson, because they know more than you. So just sit at their feet and let them bestow upon you their wisdom. So I like to look at it like, that's how they steal your mind away and become the authority figure to where you have to listen to them to get your information. They've become your authority. And now they've stuck you into, the atheism religion through this fake science, through a bunch of cosmology and space that doesn't even exist in the first place. So there's that. And just the fact that if you can keep your populace dumb and not knowing anything, if you're ruling over a populace, it's in your best interest to keep you dumb, to keep your populace dumb. If I'm a king, and let's think of medieval times or whatever, I'm the king. I don't want everyone knowing how evil of a king I am. So I'm going to go ahead and control the news they read and the information they get to make them think I'm a great king. I wouldn't want them to come cut my fucking head off and start over again.
Right.
So I want to keep them dumb and stupid. I want to keep them thinking that the neighboring village is bad and they're after us. I need to keep them thinking that they came from the spaghetti monster in the sky, and if they're good slaves and they're be good to their king, then they'll get into magic spaghetti monster heaven with all the sex they ever wanted. Whatever you got to tell them to get them to go along with your program is control. So it's money and it's control. and they might be hiding our creator from us. And that to me is another big deal. I mean, I tried to drop atheism when I found out that the Big Bang is a big bunch of bunk.
My theory is that since these so-called elites, the controllers, can't leave, then they will control. So what they're doing with the money is they're locking down Earth. So what I try to explain to folks, Jake, is that there is technology out there that is so far beyond anyone's comprehension. It makes a science fiction movie look like child play. So when you talk about the surveillance state, and you're talking about military weaponry, nanotechnology, frequency technology, robotics, transhumanism, and all that stuff, in order for them to roll that stuff out, they need money. And what I think that they're doing is they have this whole facade, this charade going on with space, and they're gathering all this money, and they're using that money to fund black ops types of operations and activities. Again, this is just an opinion I have. It's a theory, but they're doing something with the money. They're certainly not really in space, so I think everybody has to try to give that some thought.
Yeah. It's hard for me to say how advanced technology is because I always said when I believed in space, man, we're probably 50 years ahead of what they tell us, and we got these spaceships that can do all this stuff, and man, they're hiding aliens from us. I used to totally say, hey, we have all this technology, whereas now, if space travel isn't real, then that takes away that technology. If you can't even go to the moon and you can't fly to outer space, and there is no outer space, well, that takes away all that cool technology. So it would have to be some other kind of technology we're talking about,
Yeah, I think it's lockdown. I think it's lockdown technology is what I think. I think it's to ensure that they keep the Earth locked down, which means to keep humanity oppressed. That's my thought on what could possibly be going on.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's also that other possibility that maybe there is space up there, but they're just trying to keep the real space a secret, and maybe they can't fly up there, and they don't have the technology to go, but maybe there is other stuff up there. See, so there's that other thing. And there's so many theories that you can intertwine. I have a friend who's into this. They just got into flat Earth. He's into this egg carton theory, where there are many domes,
right,
all stacked up like an egg carton. Because he loves aliens. So when I busted him into flat Earth, I told him aliens might go down the toilet. He goes, well, no, they can exist from these other flat Earth world. So I give people that aliens can't exist from another flat world or maybe interdimensionally or something.
Yeah.
I've never seen an alien. I've seen some things flying in the sky that didn't make any sense that I guess I could call a UFO.
Yep.
I don't know if it was us or aliens or if I was just seeing something that was not what I thought it was. But I have seen maybe 3-4 times in my life something, I think we all have at this point, seen something that's flying in the sky. I'm like, what in the hell is that? But I haven't seen an alien or any footage of aliens where I'm like, yes, they definitely exist. Whereas I used to say, hey, the universe is infinite, so there has to be aliens because all those planets and all that stuff out there means there has to be. Whereas now, there doesn't have to be. And
right.
There might not be. We might be the king species, us, like it.
Well, I used to say the same things. I used to believe the same things, and I'm with you. The flat Earth theory to me has taken a lot of things off the table. A lot of things and a lot of topics where I used to spend time looking into and researching and reading books on. And then when the flat Earth theory came out and I got comfortable with it, I took a lot of that stuff, I just swiped it off the table, and I said, this is just useless nonsense. This is a distraction. This is stuff they want us to spend our time looking at and keeping us from the truth, because that happens all the time. There's lots of disinformation out there. There's lots of junk out there. I always tell folks, to get to the truth, to get to 1 ounce of truth, you have to plow through 2 tons of garbage. So I know there's going to be folks listening to what I'm saying and completely rolling their eyes around their head and not agreeing with it. But for me, it cleared a lot of stuff off the table. And I'm able to focus on things now that I think are really important versus all the stuff that was out there.
To me, it's the ultimate eye-opener. Once you see the paintings and say those are paintings, I feel like my IQ in my brain just shot out, just started shooting upward. I don't know about you, but I didn't know that much about the ball Earth until I became a flat earther. Now I know more about the ball Earth that doesn't exist than many ball earthers, right? So I feel like the amount of research and the amount of discovery it leads to in the awakening, this kind of started like, I don't know if I want to say shot my IQ up or whatever, but I just felt like my brain just started going to new places and like expanding, like I was becoming a smarter person, like I was being educated with real education.
Yeah.
And I was kicking out all the garbage. I keep all that ball earth knowledge in my head to where, like I have it as a reference point, but I'm adding in the new, like, real information to take its place,
Yep.
as truth.
Yeah, it takes all the clutter out. Now, what I wanted to do before we head out, Jake, because this has been a great conversation, is you are a musician. Can you tell us about your music?
Yeah, I was a musician long before I was a flat earther. I play bass guitar and I sing. I play in 2 different bands. I have a funk and rock and roll band called Strain, Z space STRAIN, Strain, and that's an original band that I have, and it's fun. I sing and play bass, and my best friend is in the band with me, Drew. He plays guitar and sings, so we kind of split the lead singing duties. It's cool. And then I'm also the lead singer in a cover band, and that's kind of like my money-making band on the side. And we play at bars and play all the old classics like Sweet Home Alabama and old-time rock and roll, and we mix in some disco stuff in there, like play that funky music, White Boy, and people just go nuts over that stuff. I wish my original band got the reaction that the cover band gets some night, like, whew. So.
Have you done any albums or anything with the original band with Z Strain?
Yes, yeah, I haven't. We have 1 album out. Gonna get started on the next one. So we have music up on Facebook, Reverb Nation, and we have our album for sale on iTunes. So let's look up Z Strain.
Okay, yeah, I'll swap albums with you because I put an album out in I think January or February of 2013. I'm actually working on my second one now also. So. I'll swap with you.
Awesome.
Take a listen to each other's stuff. Look, Jake, I want to thank you again for coming on the show. And where can the listeners find out more about you? You mentioned Facebook, and I'm going to put your YouTube channel in the show notes. Reverb Nation for your band. Anything else?
Oh, that's pretty much it. Yeah, the YouTube channel's about a month old and growing like crazy, more than I ever imagined. And so, yeah, I'm Flat Earth Asshole on YouTube, and then on Facebook, I'm Jake Gibson. Eventually, I'll have to make a Flat Earth Asshole page, but for now, I'm Jake Gibson on Facebook, and my band is Z Strain, and my cover band is Raising Kane. And if you're ever in Modesto, California, looking to watch a rock show, message me. I'll tell you where to go.
You have an open invite, by the way, to come back. This was really a lot of fun to do this interview.
I'd love to.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And it was just free-flowing, and I really enjoyed it. So, man, come back anytime.
Absolutely.
And that concludes my interview with Jake, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Links to Jake's social media and music are in the show notes below. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageofquayradio.blogspot.com, or simply head over to our hub website at sageofquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. And as we head out, I'll leave you with the Z Strain song, She Lies in Me. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.
should have smiled.